Hey, everybody, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Fangirl Radio Show. We are back. I am your host, Jessica Dwyer, and with me, as always, are my two lovely and talented co-hosts, Mr. Eric Smith.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Ryan Stacy.
Hello.
So we have a lot to go over, and we have a great interview at the end of this episode tonight with the awesome Glen Mazzara, the man behind Damien, which was really cool to talk about with him. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it is because he also was responsible for some great seasons of The Walking Dead. And he's the reason.
My favorite show.
I've heard of that.
And he's the reason you get to see Scott Wilson back on television. And Damien, he brought him back because he worked with him when Herschel was on the show.
How many legs does he have?
I'm sorry?
How many legs does he have?
He's got two, and he looks fine in a suit. He's in a suit in this. Sorry. I like Scott Wilson. I think Scott Wilson is cute. I can't help it. He's my drinking buddy. And also, Barbara Hershey plays a badass, powerful woman in this show. And part of our conversation talks about the power of women in this series. And he was very excited to talk about that.
I thought you were going to say you guys talked about beaches.
No, God, don't remind me about beaches. Oh, Jesus, God, don't ever remind anyone about beaches. That's just mean. This is mean. So we're going to wash that away. And we've got a lot to talk about this week. We've got a lot of TV recaps to do. We have some Week in Geeks stuff to go over. And let's start it off with the show that I can't apparently quit, which is Gotham. I'm so pissed off because I'd given up on this show. And they pulled me back in by they brought back my boy that always is in like every show I watch, who is James Frame. And they brought him back in a way that is just epic. And that is, he is Azrael.
That's sweet. Well, maybe. How was he? How is Azrael in the show?
Okay, so they have, for whatever reason, Gotham is going to have like a 2-week hiatus. It has a 2-week hiatus. So there's no new Gotham this week, but it's coming back on May 2nd. And they created him, because Theo Gallivan, as we know, died on the show. Jim Gordon killed him with the help of the Penguin. And what happened was Doc Strange. Hugo Strange, Doctor Strange in the DC universe. Hugo Strange is doing all these crazy experiments at Blackgate, and underneath there and doing all this stuff. So he brought Theo Gallivan back from the dead. And when he came back, he beat the crap out of everybody in the room, talking to himself, is saying, Azrael, and it's like, oh my God. When I saw that they were doing that, I'm like, well, shit, I've got to watch the show again. This sucks. I left and they brought me back. And they've also, the Penguin finally mean again and psychotic and fed his stepmother her own children.
Nice.
Did a complete Titus on him. So Titus Andronicus thing going on. So that happened. I mean, the show got super again. And then you have Barbara is back, but she's apparently a good guy now. So I don't know. It's just that I give a crap about. But, we got to see Michelle Gomez as the lady again. But the big thing to me is James Frame is back, and he is frickin' Azrael. So bastards. And the next episode, which is on May 2nd, is called Azrael. And the next one after that is entitled Unleashed. And the final one for the season, I'm guessing this is the season finale on May 16th, is called A Legion of Horribles. So that's interesting. But I'm back into the Gotham, so we'll see. So I'm going to pass it over to Ryan, who is our resident oncer, And
Woo!
yay. So let's hear what happened with, I believe it was called Sisters. Was that the name of the episode?
Well, yes, but I want to make a comment about the episode prior to that gave us our first gay couple in the Once Upon a Time realm. I've always made this joke really fast from watching Underworld. I just kind of took the material from this. I've always had a problem getting along with gay women. They just don't like me. I don't know why. And I've always called them dykens, like dykenthropes, like because they suffer from dycanthropy.
I see where you're going with this.
Well, oh my gosh. Well, not only did Once Upon a Time give us our first gay couple, but they gave us a dyken because now Red's full on Leslie and she's with Dorothy.
Which
and
is just
I mean,
random.
right. It's random, but if you think about it, I think there's like a joke hidden in there. Friend of Dorothy.
Oh,
Hello.
I didn't even think about that.
So we've got lesbians in Oz now, so the world must be good. Then Sisters. It was really good, and it was actually a really moving episode, I felt, because, well, Barbara Hershey was on that episode, and the whole point of it is they're all stuck in the underworld trying to help these people trapped in limbo figure out their unfinished business so they can cross over wherever it may be. And Regina and Zelina ended up kind of coming together, and there was a memory that Cora had erased from their minds where they had crossed paths as children and actually liked each other. Oh. And so now Zelina and Regina are sisters and they're friends, and there's lesbians, and everybody's just friggin' happy in Once Upon a Time.
That's hilarious. So
I will say it's unfortunate though because Miss Bell is in a sleeping curse, so we've got another curse.
Oh Jesus. Good God. Well, all right. So I have to bring up, we have a ton of stuff to talk about on this episode before we bring on our interview, and there's no way we're going to make it all within the time frame that I always say we need to do. But I had to bring up Blacklist because we didn't get to talk about Blacklist because I was gone, and Blacklist did something that I've never seen a show do. And I don't know if either of you guys have heard about this, but this is some balls. If they actually have done this, if she is not coming back, the Blacklist killed off their main character. And this is the third season, and they killed her off. They killed off Lizzie.
I love that kind of stuff.
And in a way that was just heart-wrenching. The thing is, they give you the thought that maybe, just maybe, she's gonna make it. Like, there's no way they're gonna kill her up. Like, this is what I was doing the whole time. There's no way. Nah, they're gonna. No. Oh damn, this is getting close. Nah, they're. Come on. Oh my God, they killed her. And that was the episode. She died giving birth. She gave birth to the baby, and then because of a car accident that caused amniotic fluid to get into her body, caused her heart and her lungs to start doing bad things, and before they could get her to the hospital, she died. And it was just, man, James Spader knocked it out of the park with that episode, and then the follow-up episode where it was just Red, and he's basically losing his mind, and has like a weird, he's seeing visions, and it's of Elizabeth's mother, and it's just a fantastic episode. So now we're getting ready to go into that spin-off territory we've been told about with Tom and Famke Janssen. She's actually the one, of course, that sent the guys after Elizabeth and caused all this. And Tom is apparently going after the guy that caused her to die, which is the guy from the Cabal that they hired to do this. So, oh my God, good things. If you haven't watched Blacklist, you really need to get on that. I mean, really get on Blacklist. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Eric to talk about The Flash, and then we'll go on to other DC show that they have on the network.
All right. Well, The Flash came back last week. And we got the history of Zoom, this season's bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't he last season's bad guy too?
No, that was Reverse Flash.
Okay, sorry.
This is Zoom, who with an amazing costume. I love the way he looks. Tony Todd does the voice when he's in the costume, but it's not Tony Todd outside of the costume. Not completely thrilled with who he is and how they did it, but he's still a pretty cool character. But the Flash lost his powers. So last night's episode, or 2 nights ago when our show airs, no Flash powers for the Flash in the entire episode. He didn't get them back at the end of the episode.
Oh.
So he was fighting crime like a normal person. But we did get a lot of Earth 2 stuff, and Killer Frost was back, which was cool. I like seeing evil versions of nice characters that we know and love. So Caitlin Snow on the regular Earth is Killer Frost on Earth 2. No reveal on who the man in the Iron Mask is on
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Earth 2, which is really starting to get annoying. Damn it! I thought it might be. No, I don't understand why nobody just. The guy can't talk, but he has a code. He taps out a code, and when Barry Allen was a prisoner on Earth 2, he figured out what the code was. I would think the first question you would ask is, "Who are you?" But so we still don't know who this guy is. That's a mystery that's getting kind of annoying. But overall, still a fantastic show, a must-watch. Just a couple of relatively weak episodes. And, the Flash needs to get his powers back, or it just becomes the Barry Allen show.
Well, I got to tell you, Legends of Tomorrow is putting way too much. See, here's the thing. I really like the Magnificent 8 episode. I had fun with that one. That was fun.
Jonah Hex was fantastic.
Yeah, they need to have a Jonah Hex series.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Jonathan Shake?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, and I would be very happy with a Jonah Hex series. I thought that was fun. I thought it was just a well done episode. I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, except for the whole, I'm sick of Kendra. I can't take it. She just looks, her teeth stick out of her mouth, and she just goes, she has that look, like that, the same facial expression every time. And I just do that. I can't. Hot girl is annoying. I don't like her. And they are wasting way too much time with this whole Kendra and Ray Palmer bullshit. I just don't care. I don't care. So this episode was actually directed by Rachel Talalay, that they just did with The Pilgrim, which was a waste of a character. She looked really cool, had really cool powers, and they just completely. It was funny with the baby Snart. Baby Snart was cute. I would be happy with a Jonah Hex and Snart series. Why don't we do that? Because that was fantastic. Like him walking around I'm okay with that. But yeah, it was an interesting episode with the younger versions of themselves. It was neat to see White Canary's dad back. I will always forever think of him as Barry the Wizard.
Dresden.
Yeah, he's always going to be Dresden to me. But it was kind of, I don't know what to do for this show.
Well,
they're focusing on the wrong crowd. There's moments though, like with Firestorm's dad. That was really moving.
Yeah, that was
really moving. There's so many moments of awesome in this show, and yet
they're overshadowed
by just the boring crap that no one gives a crap about. I'm really trying not to like drop bombs.
Well,
like it's beep 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 beep. Yeah, no. So I was really just kind of let down by this episode.
I get irritated, and this show has the same problem, a lot of the same problems I think that Supergirl had. And this is going to be a weird thing to say about a show about time travel and superpowers, but
there's not enough of it.
I get so annoyed when things are unrealistic. Like the Pilgrim. This is the top assassin of the Time Masters. And yet, and I hate when any show does this, you know, when she goes to kill Heatwave when he's a teenager, why, when she's revealed, why is she just standing there?
Yeah. Just
why?
Shoot him. Just shoot him.
Exactly.
Why aren't you shooting him?
There's so much of this, and it happens in so many shows where the bad guys essentially are doing nothing.
You know what this show needs? It needs a Whedon.
More death?
It needs a Whedon. It needs a Whedon to write for a group. The problem with this show is it's so uneven because there's not enough focus on everybody with this whole Kendra crap. She's taken over the show with her morose, poor me, I'm a reincarnated woman who gets to bang Brandon Routh. Oh, I'm so sad for you. I am sad. See me cry tears. See me cry tears that you get to make out with Brandon Routh. I am sad.
It's just got some bad writing, in my opinion. The whole thing with Heatwave, I think that his character arc, you can call it that, was horrible.
The whole thing with him is bad. Like we made him too stupid, so now we have to figure out a way to make him more intelligent.
Well, that plus, you know, it turns out he's Kronos.
Yeah, big surprise.
And apparently he's been holding this grudge for
millennia.
Yeah, however long, and yet they have one fist fight, and now he's over it, and he's on the good guys team again.
I know.
And first of all, I'm like, okay, holding a grudge that long is, well, okay, it's psychotic, but he's psychotic, so maybe he can hold a grudge that long.
So here's the thing, though.
But really, he's going to get over it that quickly.
The thing that annoys me is I know that Arthur Darvill can act, and they're not giving him anything to do, and he's the leader. I've seen, you know, this guy has done Shakespeare in the Round at the actual Shakespeare's theater in England. Okay, he at the Globe Theater. This guy can act. Why aren't you like giving us more Rip Hunter meat for him? You know, This is the guy that put this all together. This is the guy that's out to avenge or save his wife and child. But that's all you have him say. I have my wife and child, my wife and child, my wife and child. God damn, dude, we get it.
You guys can't do anything to mess up the timeline. Make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. But, for me and my wife and child, I'm going to change everything.
You know, I want to see more of that whole thing. Can you give me more background on why is Jonah Hex actually Rip's kid? Did he have that's why he, they were so tight? We don't know. We have nothing on that. And it just sucks. It's just like, why aren't you giving us enough meat to the characters that are interesting?
I was just talking about to someone about how I would love to see a Jonah Hex series, and either in the first season, I think either the mid-season where you're going to have your break, or you could save it till the end of the season. Throw him into the future like they did in the comics.
Yeah, or have him show. You know what? I got an idea. You want to know my idea? Let's kill Hawk Girl and make Jonah that person. Give him that spot. Oh God, please.
He was so good.
I have an idea.
Go for it.
Uh-oh.
For this Jonah Hex series, I think it'd be really good, and they should put Megan Fox.
Oh God, no.
Oh God, no. No, but you know who could be really Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender would be good in it because he was the only good thing in that movie.
Oh, Fassy.
But that's the problem I have with this show is like the female characters. Like I could give White Canary.
I can never decide if I like her or not.
I really don't know. Like, when she's kicking butt, when she's fighting, that's great. But she's just uninteresting. She's the problem with this show is they write the female characters like whiny little bitches. That's the honest.
Well, some of the male characters are whiny little bitches.
Yeah,
too.
no, but there's only 2 women in the show, and they both are whiny and uninteresting, and they need to be written better or have some interesting characters put in there. Like, I'm not kidding about killing off Kendra. We've already killed off Hot Guy. Kill off Hot Girl. Give Jonah Hex that spot because he's cool and he's interesting. And Ray Palmer making out with Jonah Hex would be really, really funny.
Now, is it just me, or does it always look like Brandon Routh's eyes are bloodshot?
I think it's just because his eyes are. He maybe has sensitive eyes. They're pretty. I've seen.
Oh, he's a very pretty guy.
I've seen him in person. I've hugged that man. Oh God, he's so pretty.
I've heard he's a drunk.
No,
so his eyes could be bloodshot.
Oh my God! Shut up.
Every time, it looks like he just woke up.
I think he might just have really sensitive eyes because they're just. It may also be that they're so dark that you notice them more because his irises are just like almost black.
Yeah, he is a very pretty man. It's just something I noticed.
He's very pretty. He's very tall. I walked around that corner to get my photo taken with him, and he's like, "Hi!" and opened up his arm like, "Okay, okay, I'll hug you."
But yes, so Legends of Tomorrow, disappointing.
Yeah, and there's the second season of it coming. I mean, they've already approved it, as far as I know. But they got to do something. They need to find a Whedon to help write an ensemble like that because it's so uneven. They're not, and the best actors, like, the two of the best actors on the show are Arthur Darvill and the gent that plays the professor, and I'm blanking on his name right now. But you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my brain too.
Yeah.
He was on Alias.
Yeah. Victor Garber.
Thank you.
Victor Garber and Arthur Darvill, the 2 best actors on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, that's the other thing is all they have Victor Garber do is, my wife doesn't remember me. I don't know my wife is gone. My wife is blah, 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 blah. I was like, God, all of them are whiny.
Yeah, and I love Firestorm is one of my favorite characters. I've loved Firestorm since I was a kid, and I love the way he looks on the show when he's Firestorm. But when I don't know, they just seem wasted when it's just the 2 of them separated.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
the same tune over and over and over again.
The whiny crap needs to stop. And that's Legends of the Wine is really really it. So our special interview tonight is with Glen Mazzara, and I don't know if you guys, either of you, have watched anything of Damien, but I got caught up on the show, and a lot of people were like kind of bored by the first episode. It was sort of really fast. It seemed like, boom, here you're in the middle of this ongoing dark conspiracy to make you the Antichrist. But then the show kind of started taking its time and giving more depth to these characters, and the creep factor got upped. And so I actually caught up with the show, and you probably should be watching this if you're not like disturbed by really bloody, gory crap. Because this show gets really, really bloody, and it has some really heavy stuff going down in it, which any show about the Antichrist should. But this last episode, it was a really interesting episode. It's called Here's Wisdom. And in the ep before it, we are introduced to one of Damien's classmates from when he was around the age of 14. And Damien accidentally had this kid set on fire. So his entire body, for the most part, except for his neck up, so his face is not scarred, was set on fire. And he's got scars all over himself. And he's really jacked up by this. And you think at first that this guy is a victim, but it seems like he's more of a sycophant to Damien. And it turns out that he's been killing people in the name of Damien. this all time.
Cool.
And he ends up attacking this other classmate that ratted him out and was talking about Damien to the police, stabs him with scissors, the guy, or actually I think they're like pruning shears, and because he's a florist, stabs the guy and then cuts his tongue out and then sends it to Damien as a present.
Well, that was kind.
And it shows it, all of that. And Damien ends up going and meeting the guy, figuring out where he is, and that's when he finds out that this guy's been killing. He kind of laughs and he's like, so many, you know, and Damien is looking at him like, what are you talking about? And he's like, they're not even missed yet. And it's like, oh, well, how many people have you killed now that no one's realized that you've murdered and that you don't know? And Damien proceeds to beat the living crap out of this guy. And you think he's going to kill him, but he ends up stopping himself. And there's this really cool moral quandary when Damien he's going to see a shrink now because he tried to kill himself previously in the show in another really creepy episode. And he tells the shrink, how do I know which side is the good side or the bad side? Which one is telling me not to kill him? Because wouldn't it be better to kill this guy who's been killing other people? What if the thing that stopped me from killing him wasn't the fact that I'm trying to be good, but the fact that I want him to live and go on killing? And that's a really interesting question when you're the Antichrist, and you're trying to be good and you're trying to fight your nature, which is the lesser of two evils. And so you feel bad for Damien because he's really actually trying not to become this thing, but so many things are against him thanks to this dark conspiracy that's just so big and reaching. And at the end of the episode, you find out that his shrink was involved. Either she was involved with it or she was possessed. Because she goes and sneaks into the police station and kills the killer with a pin to the neck. Stabby, nice. Stabby, 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 lots of blood. She gets shot. And the cool thing about Damien, too, is, and we talk about this in our interview later on, is the fact that one of the coolest characters in the show, and he was trying to be the heroic one, just happens to be this gay guy. He just happens to be gay. And it's not a big deal at all. But it's cool to see just, oh, he just happens to be. It's not a major part of who his character is. He just happens to be married and have a child with a guy. And he's a cop. And he's a badass cop. And it's a really cool thing. And when you listen to the interview, it's a really interesting, how that happened, because it just sort of was. It just wasn't a big deal. Just, oh, okay. So it's a really good episode. It's a really good series. You can actually catch up on the entire series on A&E's website. They have if you have a satellite provider or a cable provider, you can actually watch every episode of the show right now on there.
Cool.
So it's a great show. You should watch it. Another great cable show that started again was Game of Thrones, which did either of you guys watch this?
No, I've never seen the show.
Okay, so
but I just want, before you get into that,
I'm not going to go in depth because there wasn't there was multiple things happening, but
I heard something and I want your take on it.
Okay.
I heard that this episode, somebody called it a recap of last season. They said that's what the episode was.
It really was. It really was. I think they felt the need to bring everybody up to speed on where everybody was, because there's so many storylines going on, and they did it really well. I mean, it was a well balanced episode. We got here's a chunk, here's a chunk, here's a chunk, and here's a chunk. The big problem with this episode, and a lot of other people were kind of like, the hell, was the whole Dorne storyline is completely effed up. They have the sand snakes and all of that is just completely screwed up. There's been deaths that weren't supposed to happen. I don't know what they kind of just wasted it, which is sad because Oberyn was like my favorite part of this whole series. He still is. And they've just sort of ruined this entire storyline that could have been so fantastic.
Now, is this the first episode that's post George R. R. Martin?
This is like when they're out the gate, and then everything, all bets are off on what's going to happen, because they have gotten to the point where they're getting past what happened in the books.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They're getting to that point very soon. I also the big reveal in this one was the Melisandre thing, and I made this joke. I was tweeting the whole time. If you follow me on Twitter, I was like tweeting this whole thing, and it was a total like The Shining, room 237 moment with Melisandre and
I did see.
Yeah, that was totally The Shining. But we still don't know what's going on with Jon Snow. He's dead. We know that. Is he coming back? You know, it was funny to me that they brought him into out of the snow. Jon Snow's out of the snow, and his poor little dire wolf is pawing at his arms, like, "Move, Daddy." And it's very sad. But they bring him into inside, and they're standing around him, and I'm thinking, did you guys miss the army of zombies that just pop back up alive? I mean, aren't you concerned at all about that happening with him while you're in here? But apparently not. So we don't know if what's going to happen with Jon Snow. He's dead. I don't know if he's coming back. They won't say for sure.
Now he really knows nothing.
Yeah, he said really. Jon Snow is in the snow, and it's red snow. Yeah. So Game of Thrones is back, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I am very excited with the Arya storyline and the Sansa storyline. My girl, my woman, Brienne, Gwendolyn Christie came back swinging, kicked some butt. And so yay, Brienne.
I'm really excited, by the way, speaking. I hate to interrupt you, but
No,
Gwendolyn Christie. I saw that she's cameoing in Absolutely Fabulous, the movie, today, and I'm really excited about that.
I saw that trailer. I thought that was her.
The tall lady in the black.
Oh my God, it was great. So we're going over, but I got to talk about the Lucifer finale. I know Eric is behind, and I'm sorry, Eric, for any spoilers. You can turn off your headphones if you want.
No, let's go. I can take it.
Okay, so the Lucifer finale was fantastic, and there was much comeuppance, as was due in this one for Malcolm. But the good thing is we're getting a second season. Yay! But the cool thing was Lucifer, in order to save the detective who Malcolm was going to go kill and had kidnapped her daughter, Lucifer is laying there. He gets shot, of course, because he knows the weakness is when he's in near the detective, he becomes mortal. And of course he gets shot, and he's laying there dying on the floor, and it's a really, really sad, touching scene because he goes, "Father," and he starts talking to God, and he asks him, he's like, "I'll do whatever you want, I'll be wherever you want me to be, but please just keep her safe." And it's like, oh, it's very sad and very sweet. And what happens is Lucifer goes back to hell, and he's walking through hell, and hell is just filled with ash. And he goes to this looks like a box, like a giant tomb of some sort with a giant chain on it, and the door is busted open, and the chain is broken. And he's looking at it, and he's like, "How? What? Oh my God!" And so then he gets pulled back, and he comes back into his body, and he takes down Malcolm, and Malcolm, is like, "Oh, I've got my coin," and because he took Lucifer's Pentecostal coin from him, so he would be able to have a one-way ticket back out of hell if he had to. And Lucifer, I think, palmed it when he was fighting him, And he's like, sorry, one time use only, and the coin disintegrates and Malcolm dies. And so Malcolm's gone for now. But and Lucifer, saves the day, blah, blah, blah. And he goes back, and he and Amanadil, I hope I'm saying that right, are back on the planet, and he's talking to him, and he tells him, Dad wants me here. And he's like, well, what? Why? And he says, we had someone escape from hell. And Amenadil is like, well, who was it? Who was it? Who was it? And you see Lucifer look up, and he just goes, Mom. So.
So would that be Lilith?
That's what I am hoping, but I don't know. It could be Lamia. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with this. This is really cool. This is a really cool storyline. So Lucifer's finale was fantastic, and it's setting up next season, which is apparently going to be the search for mommy.
Nice. Now, as soon as you said that Malcolm kidnapped Trixie,
yeah,
I immediately want to see Maze go on a rampage, since Maze became friends with Trixie.
Well, Maze had other things going on that she was having to take care of. But really quickly, some Weekend Geek stuff that we have to cover before we go to our interview. And that the biggie is, in fact, of course, the fact that we have a new companion that was announced for Doctor Who. Her name is Bill, and she's being played by a theater actress who really, this is only the third thing on television I think she's done. Her name is Pearl Mackie. And she's fabulous. In the little snippet that we've seen of her being chased by Daleks and everything, and with Peter Capaldi and his beautiful hair. The cool thing is she's wearing a Prince t-shirt. And the reason that's cool is because it just happened to be that she chose to wear a Prince t-shirt because she's a fan. But it was 10 days before he died that was filmed. So that was very sweet and very neat little happenstance that would be the case. But the interesting thing is her name is Bill, and she was announced on Shakespeare's, I want to say it was his birthday, but I don't think that's it. I think it was the anniversary of his death. That was a big thing going on, like a 400-year anniversary deal going on in England. The day she was announced, her name is Bill. How funny is that? So I'm really excited. And the other bit of it is it seems like she may very well be from the 1980s, which would be really interesting because her dress, the fact that she's wearing a Purple Rain t-shirt, she's wearing shoes that look like they came straight out of the 80s. And the line that Peter Capaldi says, which is, we have to get back to the future. He actually says this. And 2017 needs us. Okay, well, where are you? So there's a very good chance that she's a 1980s girl, and that would be fantastic.
Cool.
The next thing I wanted to share this because I'm a video game nut, and I know Eric is a huge iZombie nut. I don't know how many video games he plays, but this is a really, really, really cool thing. Blizzard has done a deal with Diablo 3. They just did a big update to the game, massive up. It's like 10 gigs. Because I just did it a couple days ago. And the cool thing is that if you defeat a character by the name of Ravi Lillywhite, if you kill Ravi Lillywhite, you will get a drop. And that drop is Liv. Liv Moore is going to be your pet in the game and will follow you around. And she looks just like her.
Wow.
And it's really, really, really cool. And I love Diablo 3 anyway, but this is just neat, especially considering that Ravi and Major are both video game nuts in the show.
Yeah.
And so they got married, apparently, and Ravi took Major's name and became a demon.
And they had, well, I was going to say they had Ravi Jr., but...
But yeah, if you find Ravi Lillywhite and he's in a certain area of the game, you can look online. It's all over where you can find where to find this drop. But I think that's just really, really, really cool. Couple more things really quickly. I'm gonna have to skip a bunch of things, but number one is Twin Peaks. If you want to go check fangirlmag.com, we have the cast list, and it is huge and filled with like amazing, amazing people. You've got God, who all's on there? Like Tim Roth. It's just
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, just a ton of people. Let's see who else is on the list. It's crazy. Oh God, what's her name? Michael Cera is in there. I don't know
Naomi
who's.
Watts is on it, right?
Yeah, Naomi Watts is on it.
All sitting around drinking coffee and eating pie.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like, and it's funny because if you go on our site, every one of them that's a returning character has an asterisk, but there's not that many. Like, let's see. Madsen Amick is of course back. You've got Dana Ashbrook, Monica Bellucci, which is
Oh wow.
wow. Jim Belushi, Tim Roth. Let's see, Michael Cera, Richard Chamberlain.
What?
Yeah.
Is he a Shogun?
I don't know. David Duchovny's coming back, which is great. Just a ton. It's Meg Foster, Balthazar Getty, just a ton of people. It's a huge list. You can just go through. Robert Knepper's there. Just a ton of people. It's crazy. And you've got all the returning people as well. So it's just going to be a massive, massive show. The other thing about casting that I wanted to talk about really quickly is American Gods, which is going to rock your pants. It's going to rock your pants so hard. American Gods just cast some of the gods, a lot more of the gods actually. And Cloris Leachman is going to be playing Zoria, one of the eldest of the three sisters who watch the constellations.
Well, she would have to be.
Yeah, and I'm just happy that she's getting more work because I love her. Peter Stormare just got added as Zernabog. Yeah, he's going to be one of them as well. He's the guy that lives with them, I believe. The Djinn is being played by a gent who was in Fast and the Furious, Musa Quraish. And the other ones, we already got Ian McShane in there as Odin, which is, God, it's awesome. They have Anubis is being played by Chris Obi. And the other one that I'm really excited about is really cool is a dual character. Oh, by the way, they actually have the guy that was in the last Mission Impossible movie is playing Mad Sweeney. Sean Harris is playing Mad Sweeney, the crazy giant leprechaun guy. He's one of my favorite characters. But the big one to me is the guy that's playing. There's two characters playing the same character, which is sort of a spoiler. But and that is Crispin Glover is going to be playing his character is the modern man, today's guy, and he is also the same character as the tech kid. And they have cast that as well, and it's just gonna. I'm so excited. Kristen Glover's Mr. World, and the other guy is going to be Technical Boy. Bruce Langley is in it, but they're the same character because he's modern. So the cast is just fantastic. And
you can never have too much Crispin Glover.
I mean, and he's perfect for that. And I'm just so excited for the show. So American Gods is going to be on Stars, and if you need an excuse to get Stars, this is really it. I mean, I don't know, really, unless you aren't watching Ash versus Evil Dead already,
which was a great show.
It was a great show.
I'm not an Evil Dead.
It was still a great show. So also really quickly, the Killing Joke trailer was released.
My goodness.
Anybody else have goosebumps and want to lick their monitor when they watched it? Other than me? Because I did.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I did.
anytime I hear Mark Hamill as the Joker, I get goosebumps.
Oh, he's and this was like the only thing I think would have made him do this again. You know, and
said that.
I think he did say that, and he just okay. So you got Kevin Conroy as Batman,
Mm-hmm.
and you have Mark Hamill as the Joker, and then you have Tara Strong back as Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Not for long.
hey, that's me. But it's the first R-rated Bat movie. So hee 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 hee. So
Because of all that naked Commissioner Gordon.
Well, I don't know how far they're going to go with what the Joker does to Batgirl either.
Didn't he assault her?
He assaulted her. A lot of people consider he raped her. Yeah. So, so it's going to be interesting. And the animation looks beautiful. So
I've
pretty.
seen a lot of people knocking it. They thought it would be way more intense, and they're all pissed off that it looks like the animated series. But I love that take on it.
I love the meshing of those two things. That works. You know, that makes sense. You've got the original animated people, and it looks like how it would have advanced in the shows.
And the animated series was one of the best versions of Batman ever.
Yeah. And it was beautifully done for the time. I mean, that animation, it was all hand drawn.
It was very film noir, you know?
It was amazing.
Beautiful.
It was great.
So why not? And as you said, since you have the voices,
why wouldn't you make it? And I like that it looks like if you mesh the two, if you mesh the Killing Joke comic with the animated series, this is what it would look like.
And they did have that iconic shot of the Joker with his hands in his hair.
Oh yeah, and then him
from...
with the camera too, and that Joker looks different from the animated series Joker. He looks like the one. I like it. I don't know what people are.
Isn't Tara Strong the current voice of Harley Quinn as well?
She does a lot of voice work. It's kind of crazy. Let's see. I'm curious. Now I know she does Teen Titans, and she's Raven.
There's a video from a convention of her sitting in Mark Hamill's lap, and they're talking to each other as Harley and the Joker.
I know that she did the Harley Quinn voice for that Gods and Monsters short, where Harley
Quinn, you're right.
Yeah, gets bit by Batman or eaten by Batman or something by Batman.
And she did it in the Arkham series video game.
Yeah. Yeah, so she does a ton of stuff. That's like her thing. She is a voice actress, and it's kind of insane when you look at voice actor IMDb entries, how big they are.
Can I tell you a trivia fact about Tara Strong?
Yes.
She is Canadian, and when she was first starting out as an actress, and I believe moved here to the States to get work, she was actually roommates with Neve Campbell, and they both auditioned for the same part on Party of Five, and Neve got the part.
Are you serious?
And she got a bit role on one episode.
Well, and that always makes me think of the Mark Hamill, Freddy Krueger connection, which is Mark Hamill and Robert Englund both auditioned for Luke Skywalker, and because they were friends and they went together, and Mark got it.
Are they not friends anymore?
They're still friends. But one of them is Luke Skywalker and one is Freddy Krueger. All right, guys. So we need to cut it short and go to our interview. And I hope you guys enjoy it. This is Glen Mazzara, the man behind Damien, and some of the best stuff from The Walking Dead we discussed the series and some of the inspirations and imagery that is within the show, and it's really, really interesting. And hopefully we'll have him back after the finale so we can talk some more and go in more depth about the show, because there's a lot going on in Damien that you may not realize, but you might now after you listen to this interview. So with that, thank you guys. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Aw, both together. Aw, my boys. And with that, here is our interview with Glen Mazzara. We will see you next week on Fangirl Radio. Hey, everybody. I want to welcome the awesome Glen Mazzara to Fangirl Radio. He is the man behind the evil that is Damien on A&E. And Glen, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So oh man, this show is fantastic and extraordinarily creepy. One thing I wanted to talk to you about for sure, because it takes the first two films, but throws out the third movie in the trilogy, the original trilogy of the Omen films. You've created a really unique history with Damien. How did you come up with the war photographer idea and his history up until he's 30?
Oh, well, actually, let me just say that we sort of use a different version of the second movie. We feel that, he did go from boarding school to boarding school, but we that's not really part of our canon. We're sticking with the first one and see the second movie as an influence there, okay?
Uh-huh.
But we do have, I wanted to have Damien at 30 because he's the Antichrist. And, Jesus Christ began his ministry when he was 30.
Right.
And I thought that was it would be interesting to show, to show Damien building an evil church, and people coming around him, and I think the expectation from the movies is that, we're going to meet Damien and he's going to be a senator and it's clear he's going to become president and all of that, and I wanted to come at it a different way. Jesus was, if he was the Messiah, he was expected to be a warrior king, and he was just a carpenter from this backwater village in the middle of nowhere. So I said, okay, well, what would be interesting for Damien? And my original thought was, if you look at these medieval paintings and these Renaissance paintings of hell, and all these different images and lost souls and people, on fire and people being ripped apart, the kind of paintings I'm talking about, where there's 100 figures. I like the idea of, I've always wanted to do a story about a photographer, and I thought, well, what if, his life has come together as a picture, and you can see this, where he's looking at these pictures at the end of the first episode, and what if they arrange it to some sort of bigger picture, So it was always a question of what is Damien looking at and what's the bigger picture? Okay, so that was sort of, maybe that's too heady to describe, but the idea of imagery was something that was really important to me.
It explains some of the set pieces, too, that you've created, because, for example, in Etoile, with the insane asylum or inmates coming, that really does, and also with the veterans, they look like characters from those hellish paintings come to life.
Yeah. But the rooting it in war photography says that there is already hell on earth, that there is already evil, that the people, that poor guy who wants to commit suicide in episode 5. He's already trapped in a hell. His body is betraying him. And there's already suffering on earth. It's not elsewhere. So we, filmed the first episode, and it wasn't until that episode was in the can that, the Syrian crisis, refugee crisis, exploded in the news because of a single image of a boy washed up on a beach.
Yeah.
So an image can change the world, and an image, and so when people say, well, I don't understand how he's a war photographer, what's more important than images sometimes? I didn't want to fall into the regular trap of Damien giving some sort of speech. We actually did a speech, and we cut the scene from episode 1 where he gives a speech and he's saying one thing and some people are listening and all of that. I wanted the story to play cinematically and to play about visuals, and that's why, we brought in directors who have strong visual styles, and Shekhar Kapoor is an amazing photographer. Everybody should follow him on Instagram, and many of our directors were cinematographers. You know, Guillermo Navarro won an Oscar for Pan's Labyrinth.
Right.
So it's really about the imagery, and that's where I wanted people to how I wanted to access their emotions.
Well, and that kind of one of my questions, it sounds funny, but it's really true, and it kind of comes to me from Exorcist 3, is why are old women and so creepy? Like you've utilized this old woman image so effectively in this show, especially when like in the scene where they attack him in the cab. It just creeps me out. Why is that so effective? I mean, is it something that we don't expect to see, is them to move so fast or viciously, or?
I don't know if it's that, but I mean, this is, I think people, one, I think people are afraid of women on some extent. I think that there's a female power that people are afraid of. You know, very often, you know, when people were considered witches, they were, you know, sort of the older widows of the town. People felt uncomfortable around them, and you know, they were you know, accused of witchcraft. So that's historically true. And I do think that there is a female power. You know, Damien he's not the typical TV hero. You know, the typical TV hero would enter, you know, scene one, pull out his gun, prove he's a badass. You know, he's saying, I've got a big penis. and then, you know, and he's the alpha male.
Yeah.
And our first scene is the guy falls to his knees and is vulnerable. Okay. And so it's a very different energy than what is anywhere else on TV. And people have not really seen this, but I think there's a female energy running through this. Barbara does a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
We have this old woman, and you'll see that, you know, with the characters of Simone and Veronica and Sister Greta, that, you know, really that energy is a huge part of this series. So what it actually means, I don't know if I can really say, but I think there's something that's, you know, something about unifying, you know, the male and female spirits in some way is challenging to people and terrifying. And so I think it plays on a deeply subconscious level.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, and I actually got a chance to interview Barbara, and I asked her about this, but I'm really curious now after hearing you talk about that. And this is something I wanted to ask you, especially after seeing the show, and is it seems like evil in this is an equal opportunity employer, but it seems like the church especially won't listen to women. But you know, the dark side here is like, you know what, you know, we've got this spot to fill, come on in. You're actually throwing it down to, you know, Scott Wilson's character is being, you know, shown up by Barbara Hershey. I mean, it's like she's got the end game here, I think, more planned out than he does even. So it seems like that kind of plays into what you just said, which is, you know, the bad guys tend to be, you know, okay with girls, and the good guys seem to be kind of like, we're not going to listen to you right now. We're going to wait and see what happens.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, let's not forget, one of the original sins of the original 1976 film is that a woman's child is killed, and she's, you know, duped into adopting the son of the devil.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so a woman is deceived, and even when she's suspicious, Gregory Peck, a character we love, tells her, "No, you're wrong." Okay, and so he plays into that deceit. So that is part of the Omen core, okay, of the canon. So now we've hit that, and I do think, you know, in my experience, I've seen, you know, very often women say something and they are told, "You're crazy," and so we have that with Simone. You know, the priest says, "You're crazy" to Simone. You're not, you know. Armani confronts her and says, "What are you talking about? She's right, actually." You know, and so you know, Barbara, you know, is actually honest. You know, Scott Wilson is duplicitous. So the deceit is, you know, we often think of women as being deceitful, as being liars or something. You know, that's sort of a horrible misogynistic trope. But in this show, they're just saying what they're seeing, and they're told they're crazy. Go back to your little corner and stop asking questions. So when Sister Greta says, you know, we need to do something about this, she's absolutely right. And the Cardinal in episode 5 says, no, you're just supposed to go take notes. You know, this is the man's problem. We're going to take care of this.
Right.
And they're not going to. You know, I saw something online saying, oh, well, this is, you know, diffusing the tension. No, there's a lot of, you know, underlying exploration of you know, sexism and misogyny and all of this. You know, these are things that are in the show. Now, we're not hitting it hard like a show like Jessica Jones, let's say, or other shows that are sort of, you know, leading this out. It's a lot more subtle because it's kind of buried underneath, you know, horror entertainment. But this is part of the show. It's there by design, and you know, I'm happy for the opportunity to talk about it. This is the first time I've talked about it.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting to me because, like, in that scene, the sister gets down on her knees, like, hey, listen to my confession, and I'll go ahead and play this part. And then later on, she goes after Simone and brings her in and is like, no, I'm going to tell you what's going on. And you know, she plays the priest. You know, she plays him.
She plays the priest. That's exactly right.
And,
that's exactly right.
And
yeah, that's exactly right.
It's really brilliant to watch this happen because every guy in the show is really lost, and the only ones that really know what's going on are the women.
And you're going to see more of that. You're going to wait until you see how it all comes together. You're going to see more of that, and that is, and why is that in the show? I don't know. I probably have to go back into therapy to figure that one out. But it's there. So thanks for noticing it.
Well, and I also like the fact that you have a gay character in this show who's really strong. And is seeing the things too, because typically, you know, people will play them as a weaker character for whatever reason, or they're flamboyant. But you've got just he just happens to be gay, and he's a badass, and I love that.
Yeah, you know, I've tried that before on other shows where you just sort of come across a character that just happens to be, you know, that just happens to be one of their traits, and people always wanted it explored as, like, you know, a defining trait. And here, you know, I just wanted to know more about this character, and we were, you know, I was talking to one of my writers who happens to be gay, and I just said, well, you know, what if he just goes home and you know, we're at home and the typical scene would be this, but let's say that, you know, he's gay. And we said, well, what does that mean? And I said, well, you know, we talked about it. Do we have to go back and redefine what we had written, or, you know? And I said, no, let's just have that. That's just who he is, and let's not make a big deal. And, you know, and everybody just kind of felt right about that, you know, and it was never an issue. It was never an issue for any executive, actor, or anybody. It just felt right. And so I was glad that the audience responded to that. You know, there were some people who, you know, maybe objected. You're always going to have that kind of, you know, hate online. But for the most part, people said, yes, this is the way it should be. It's just to be written into the script. You know, I think the cast is diverse. I think there's a lot of women in the cast. Just needs to be specified in the script. And that's where these things start. I think that's how you improve diversity, for lack of a better word, or inclusion. You know, I think it starts with the writers just kind of saying, how do I capture the world around me?
Yeah,
you know?
and
it starts with the script.
I like that it wasn't like a big forced thing. It was just, oh, okay. You know, it was naturally done, and I really appreciated and like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'm probably going to have to wrap this up, but I had one more question, and that was about Damien himself. And what is it like to balance his character? Because I really like how you're doing it, where he's trying to fight against this, which is, you know, keeps the hero element to him, which is difficult, I'm sure, to do. But I like these little hints that you get of his power, like when he's laying there and he's talking to Anne Rutledge, and the voice comes out, and I really like, how is it to balance the character and kind of slowly show more of his power?
Well, I think here's a guy who's been, running and living in denial and stuff, and he sort of, has been, fearful, and as he, and I think as he grows as a person, it's interesting if what makes his life successful is the things he wants to reject. If he wants to retain his humanity fully, okay, and ignore all of this and never be an evil guy, people are going to drop dead around him. He's always going to be hiding. He's always going to be squirreled away. He's always going to be on the run. That's no way to live. He's going to be a shadow in a sense. But for him to, confront this problem and take control of it, he's going to have to embrace those traits that he doesn't want to, I mean, that's conflict. That's what's beautiful about this character, and that's why we started him where we did. I think like I said, the expectation was something different perhaps. And we wanted, to play with it all, and to have a guy who's saying the system doesn't work. God is unfair. Why is there death? Why do innocent people die? Why is there war waged against women and children? Why are people suffering? This isn't good enough. And to have a guy who's going to say, okay, I've got some power and I'm going to challenge the system, that's wonderful. I mean, that's where I want the show to live, So in a way, he's railing against an indifferent God. So that's, it's a complicated story. I hope we get more seasons to tell it, because I don't think you can just tell that in a short order. But, that's the arc of the character. That's where we're going, and that's what it's about. And those are the complexities that are in the show.
That's fantastic. Well, Glenn, thank you so much. I know I got to let you go, but I really appreciate it. This was a great talk, and I'd love to have you back on sometime to dig into this, because there's so many layers to this show. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and after the film, when it all comes together, I can give you a lot more, and we could really kind of trace. Oh, this thread was set up here, and it sounds like you're a fan, and you'd probably get a kick out of that. So if you have the time, I would love to talk about it. So Thank you so much for this time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.